Hey everybody, welcome back to Sunday Afternoon Smokes, your casual conversation podcast from the upstate of South Carolina. My name is Chris, I'm your host. I am a realtor. I'm also the owner and operator of The Cigar Box, a mobile cigar bar that serves the upstate and beyond. Most interviews are enjoyed over a cigar while I interview the local entrepreneurs, business professionals, and entertainers that make the greater Greenville area one of the most popular places to live in the country. I hope you get to sit back, light a cigar, and enjoy the show. Today, I have the privilege of sitting down with the Mayor of Easley, Lisa Talbert, and by now, you know, I like to let my guests introduce themselves. Of course, I've already given away that you're the mayor, but Mayor Talbert, please take a minute, introduce yourself, say as much or as little about yourself as you'd like.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate your coming today and having me on. I am a 36-year, April will be 36-year resident of Easley. I'm a mother of two grown sons, grandmother of two littles, and this is my first elected office. My background is healthcare administration, but I am having a blast. The last 14 months have been a great adventure.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, and let me just say I appreciate your time during the day, during the week, because I know running, the City of Easley, that's you're a busy lady. So thanks for carving out some time for me. And as my listeners know, the first section of this podcast is always, about cigars, but we are recording in a official government office, actually inside your office. And sadly, this isn't the 1950s. Otherwise, we might be smoking a cigar in here. I wish it was, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to talk about cigar-related subjects. And I covered some of these issues. We're gonna talk about a few different things, but I recently interviewed a gentleman, Luke Rankin, who is a representative in the State House for Lawrence County. And that was fun, and we talked about some of the tobacco issues going on in the country. And I remember when I first reached out to you, it wasn't even about the podcast. I'm not even sure if I had the podcast at that time, but several months ago, I wrote to you about a growing trend of municipalities in the U.S. following the European example of instituting generational tobacco bans. Are you familiar with things like that?
I am, but I'm an American first.
Sure.
Not really European.
Yeah, agreed. We made that clear in 1776.
Right.
Yeah, I've never understood the fascination that Americans have with the royal family.
Right.
Drives me batty. I'm like, we're free people since 76. What are you doing? I don't really care what they do. I don't care about their having a baby, whatever.
It floors me. I agree, 100%.
Yeah. So anyway, but states of Indiana, Massachusetts, Hawaii have introduced general nicotine bans. Brookline, Massachusetts, a neighboring town of Boston, instituted a ban in 2021 that bars anyone born after January 1st, 2000 from purchasing tobacco, which is wild. And it just, to me, it's an abuse of state and local power. And so what you said, you're an American first. What's your thoughts on that kind of legislation?
I would never support any effort to restrict individual freedom. I'm America first, and my position on government has always been that the less government, the better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think government should be for national defense, for infrastructure, and very little else.
I agree. I mean, I totally agree with that. National defense, infrastructure, the
rule of law, right.
The enforcement of fair laws and fair business practices. But other than that, just leave people alone.
Well, too often government becomes an obstruction to progress and prosperity, and the regulations are very hindering. I mean, this is my first foray into municipal government versus business. It's very bureaucratic. It's very restricted, even on a local level. So I can imagine on a national level.
Well, we'll get into your background later in the show in the healthcare industry, but you had to deal with just the loads of regulatory, the red tape, the paperwork. So you've seen in that industry just a mind-boggling amount of legislation and go run with that.
Well, to me, the unprecedented overreach that we saw during COVID made such an impact on me, the industry I was in, our lives. I mean, going in the grocery store, that's when I was really impacted by or encouraged, I should say, to get more involved or interested in government and even local government, because there was so much overreach and so much attempted overreach here at home in our local government that I was like, wow, government can really do this. This is a little bit scary.
Sure.
And especially in that industry, because as you know, the Health Cares Act and all of the things that we experienced in healthcare and healthcare administration, it was just amazing how powerful and how overreaching our government can be and was. And still is in a lot of ways.
Well, we're seeing a lot of interesting information coming out about that time.
Yes.
The time about COVID, things that were done, things that we were told that were not true. We'll see where all that goes. My opinion is it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, my overall just kind of viewpoint of all of the investigations that Congress does is just, it's a dog and pony show. It's one part of the government investigating itself. So if Lisa Talbert were on trial and she's investigating herself, or if Christopher Strother was on trial and I'm investigating myself, guess what?
We know how that's going to
So it's just for the cameras and for talking points and for highlight reels on Fox News or CNN or anywhere else. And it's just, we have a massive problem that I hope we can deal with.
But it's going to take people getting involved.
Yeah.
And it's going to take people stepping up that wouldn't ordinarily want to be involved in government.
Yeah. Well, and I'm of the view that we have a massive federal government. And I think it's instructive for people to remember that the federal government was born out of the states, not the other way around.
Correct.
So the more decentralized we can make Washington, D.C. and return power to the states, but even more specifically to the local governments rather than to the state power, because, the people of Easley know better what Easley needs than the people in Columbia.
Yes. And I think people get so caught up in the dog and pony shows on the news about what's happening at a national level, and rightly so. It's annoying to find out that your money's being wasted to the degree that we're finding out.
It's insane.
It has been wasted. But what really impacts people, and I said this a lot during my campaign, what impacts Scott, what impacts Lisa is local government.
Right.
It affects where you shop, where you eat, how you drive, where you're going, everything about your life, your trash pickup, your fire protection, your police protection. That's your local government, and that affects more of your daily life than what you see on the Dog and Pony Show. Yes, we need a strong national defense. Yes, we want to know that our country's protected. Should we be invaded? Should we need protection? Yes, but to your point, local is where it's happening, and that's where people need to be paying attention and getting involved. And often, especially we're going into another budget season, and what we see in our national government is what's so on top of people's minds that they conflate that with what's happening locally. We don't have a lot of waste. We don't have the opportunity to send, for example, we don't have billions of dollars to send to foreign countries. We just don't do that. So we are bare bones, police, fire, sanitation, streets. And people take that anger and frustration with what they see at a national level and think it's the same across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different. It's two different things. You need to pay attention locally.
Yeah, well, even if Easley had billions of dollars, even if we had billions of dollars,
we don't.
Which we don't, and if we had a gross excess of money, I'd rather help the people in Pickens and Central,
correct,
and Powdersville than to
or our veterans or our homeless.
And that's nothing against the people struggling in Africa or Europe or wherever they are, but these people are our actual neighbors and they're our countrymen.
Correct.
Anyway, I don't know how we got on that from tobacco, but let's circle back here. So, and I think that the generational tobacco bans, it's sad, really. In South Carolina, I think I said this before in my episode with Luke Rankin, representative, as I mentioned, in the state house. South Carolina, from everything I can tell, is a very citizen liberty oriented state for the most part.
It has been. Where our demographics going to change really rapidly.
No, we got to stay on top of that.
Yes.
But South Carolina has a long and storied history of tobacco farming.
As does North Carolina.
As does North Carolina, as does Kentucky. There's just a lot of the country that grows tobacco. But South Carolina, their tobacco growing history goes all the way back to colonial periods, starting in the 1670s. And the first attempts at cultivation was when Charlestown was still being established. We have, in Greenville, we have the old cigar warehouse, which is now.
My son was married in that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, it's now a brewery.
Correct.
And I went in there several months around Christmas time, and I walked in, and I'm like, man, I could make a banger of a cigar lounge in this place. Yeah. But I just hate to see the American way of life trampled by government. It just breaks my heart, really.
It should break every patriot's heart.
I agree, and that's how I would define myself, as a straight up patriot. I mean, for all the issues that our nation has, and it has plenty of them, I love this country. It is the best of all the countries.
We are blessed. We are blessed.
Very, very much so. I've been thinking, and I go back and forth on this all the time. I've been thinking for many months about opening a brick and mortar lounge here in Easley, because we don't have one. We don't have one in Powdersville. There's not one in Central or Clemson or Seneca or Walhalla. There's not a single one.
You mean like a
cigar lounge? Yeah, a brick and mortar. You can go as far as Westminster and Walhalla and still not find one. You can find a few. There's a couple in Greenville. There's some in Simpsonville, but there's nothing out here. And I know you being the mayor, I mean, obviously you're going to be pro business.
Oh, yes.
You want to help our city. Thoughts on me bringing that?
I would welcome you. I'm the mayor, but I'm one vote. But I think all of us, I think this entire administration is business-minded, pro-economic growth, and we would welcome anything that would be a place for people to have an interest to gather and, enjoy what downtime they have these days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense, I think, all around, because we don't have that, and obviously that revenue is going to help the city.
Obviously.
It's going to help me personally. It's going to help the community, because now there's a spot. There would be a spot for cigar smokers in Easley. I've done events out in Seneca. I've done events in Westminster, or Minster rather, and I don't know how many men I have heard say to me, "I'm just sick of driving to Greenville for cigars."
Yeah.
And so I just feel like there's an opportunity, and with the projected growth around here, and I kind of rely on some of the studies.
Do you have a business plan already? I mean, you said you're thinking about
it. I've been thinking about it a long time. And that requires a lot of money.
Yeah, that's always.
And all of that. And then, of course, there's certain, the laws about, air filtration, and it's better to have.
And I would have to look into all of that.
Yeah, it's much better to have a standalone building, because if you have neighbors, then they're worried about the smoke creeping and all that stuff.
True.
So trying to find that's not easy, and then it's expensive. But I've seen a few spots that kind of raise my eyebrows. You know what I mean? But
we love attracting business and the opportunity even for jobs, for people that live here and live close to here.
Yeah. I mean, one of the big concerns when it comes to opening a cigar lounge is the recent change to those liquor liability laws.
True.
I
I
mean,
hear
it's
that a
it's
lot.
$1 million policy is required.
Mhm.
Although I did see a headline the other day about them about the people in the state house working on that. We'll see where it goes, but if you've paid attention to the news, and I know you do, we've seen a lot of places across the upstate suffer or downright go out of business because of it. Places here in town, I'd be curious to know how they're handling it, like the silos or the pint station.
Yeah,
When
that might make a good interview.
Yeah, well, when people smoke cigars, a typical and beautiful pairing would be whiskey, bourbon, rum, wine. I mean, even beer. Coffee's great. You know, it's easy to do coffee because there's no liability there. I'm just not sure that I can handle that expense as a brand new business on just cigars and coffee.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, and I don't know. Maybe you can help educate. I don't know where some of that stuff comes from on the new liquor liability. Is it pressure from the insurance companies on the state house? Is it just the people in the state house thinking it's a good idea? I don't
That
know.
would be a good question for one of our. I know you said you spoke with Luke Rankin.
I did.
That might be a good question for somebody that actually is active at that level.
Yeah,
But when you said liability, I can imagine that's huge.
it is.
It's huge. We live in such a litigious society that we have to think about every step we take. Anybody can sue you for any reason, and they do.
Yeah.
And if they have some sort of footing to be found, it's even more expensive. And it's expensive for the insurance companies that cover these lawsuits. So that could be it. But again, I'm not a state rep, and I couldn't speak to what the inside conversations are about it. But I would not be surprised if it has something to do with liability over, I guess, if you're asking morality issues or cultural issues or preference issues. It's usually always about the green stuff.
Yeah, the money, follow the money. That's the old saying. And
I was always taught that from an early management age. Follow the money. Mm-hmm. You'll find your answer.
Well, from what I understand, and look, you can take what I say here with a grain of salt, you and the listeners, because I haven't done a deep dive on this stuff. But from what I understand, the liability laws when it comes to spirits is that it seems that all of the burden is being placed on the establishments, and no responsibility is upon the consumer. And I understand if somebody comes into your bar or your brewery or whatever, you need to be able to recognize that they're already intoxicated and they shouldn't be served. But if some guy has 3 beers over here and comes to you and gets a few more and you serve him, this guy should be held accountable for his choices.
Personal responsibility and personal accountability.
Yeah.
But not just in this subject or about this topic. I think as a society, we've moved away from that in a lot of areas. It's always somebody else's fault. And that's sad.
Well, it's a huge problem.
It is.
We don't take personal accountability for almost anything, and we see that on gross display in our federal government all the time. You know, and I know one reason this is why just the American citizenry is loathsome towards politics and politicians, because they can be caught red-handed and it just doesn't seem to matter, and they're just fed
no
up with
consequences.
And that's not for them, but for us.
True.
You know, we just are living, it seems, in this 2-tiered system of justice, which is not how it's supposed to be. I don't know. We're in the weeds, but it's
sometimes the weeds are interesting.
Yeah, they are. Well, let me take a moment in saying that having cigars at a party is a great way to add a mark of sophistication. But who wants to just go buy a box of cigars and leave them out on the table? If you're craving a unique experience, simply book me to come out to your next soiree. The Cigar Box is a mobile cigar bar that brings the luxury to you. Arriving in a classy, custom-built teardrop trailer, we offer a curated selection of premium cigars in a sophisticated ambiance, all delivered to your location. Whether it's a private party, corporate event, or just a gathering of friends, we will create a memorable and sophisticated experience. Book your mobile cigar bar experience today. Simply visit mobileCigarBox.com, fill out the booking inquiry form, and I will be in touch with you as soon as possible. So let's move on to the City of Easley. What did you say? You've been a 30-year resident?
36.
36-year resident. Where did you come from?
Well, we moved here from Greenville, but I was born in Williamston, which is 25 minutes down the road. So I've lived in the upstate. But
Okay.
we moved to Easley 36 years ago off of Woodruff Road.
Aren't you glad to be out of that mess?
Yeah. I sure am. But, Easley's exploding. And, I don't know if you saw it. I've been saying it at the last couple of council meetings and a couple of the group events I've spoken at. South Carolina replaced Texas as the 2024 most moved to state of the union. And we moved up 3 spots in 1 year, which is another record breaker. And what that means is that if you look at the state, where are those people going to move? Yes, a lot of people love the coast, so they're going to go to the coast. But the upstate, if you're not into that, maybe you've got little kids, or maybe we've got BMW, we've got Michelin, we've got GE. The upstate is it's very powerful economically. Schools in the upstate. So we have a lot of growth in the upstate. And it's no secret that Greenville is packed. We moved from Greenville 36 years ago. And even now, it's more packed. So people are moving West Greenville. West Greenville's creeping into Easley. And Easley is the largest city right now in Pickens County. What's not to love about Easley? You live in Easley, correct?
I do.
Okay. What's not to love about Easley? You're hour from some mountains, 2 hours from big mountains. You're 4.5 hours to the coast. You have so much to do. And in Easley, you don't have yet, let me knock on some wood, you don't have yet the traffic that you see in Greenville County. You don't have that in Pickens County yet. And you have the lifestyle that the upstate offers, but the small town, iconic feel. We are very proud of that here. And no matter how big we get, I want to do what I can to preserve that because it's a hometown feel that we realize people move here and people are back and forth with this conversation all the time. You are moving here, Mr. John Smith, because you like the small town feel, but you realize if you move here, Mr. Smith, you're making it a big town. So there's a lot of that back and forth. But I think we owe it to our new neighbors that move here to do what we can to preserve the reason they moved here.
Well, I mean, I keep my finger on the pulse of some of that being a realtor, with the explosion of the upstate and the projections for the next 10 years. And you're right. People want to escape the big city and go to something more homey. And
the more people that do that.
The more people that do that. I understand that. But here's what I have found, though, just talking to people the last several years. I know you said our demographics will change, and they certainly will. However, one thing that I have noticed is a lot of the people that move here from California, from New York, from New Jersey, from all places like that, they're conservatives. A lot of them are, and they were tired of the madness. A lot of them coming here because they wanted to live in a more conservative, where they had their liberties. And so that's good. But we do need to make sure that we're having those conversations with people that are moving here and just kind of, the simple, to boil it down into a little bite-sized sentence is basically, and you've heard it, everybody knows it, is you moved here for a reason. So don't turn this place into what you fled from.
Or maybe allow it to be. I've talked to so many people. Oh my gosh. Some of the concerns they have are that while people may be moving here because they're like-minded or because they're moving away from something that we don't want to become, for whatever reason, there's a consensus among some people that those people allowed that to happen where they come from. So are you going to allow that to happen here? But I do agree with you. I think sometimes and we see this with people that move to our country and become citizens. They know more about our country and its history than some of us natives do. They have a passion and a love for the country that some of the people that are just blessed by being born here do not have. And I think that I really see a lot of people that move here for the reasons you talked about seem to know more and take the time to really understand more about our city and to get involved with our city than sometimes the natives do. So I do think they're bringing with them, most of them, a passion for our lifestyle. And I think that's a good thing, whether it's, whether you like the doodle trail or you just like a quiet life, or you like to just sit out on a front porch and talk with your neighbors, or, have a cigar with your neighbor.
Sure.
They seem to really come here passionate about that.
Well,
It's a lot of trouble to pack up and move a household and children and leave your job. I mean, you have to really want to do that.
Yeah, I think the divide, one of the things you're talking about, the divide between native-born Americans and the people that are coming here from other countries. Americans, you take America for granted because it's all you know, unless, and I have, and you probably have, I don't know, you will not fully understand the greatness of America unless you travel abroad. And and by the way, you can't, if you're going to travel abroad and really come back home and appreciate America, you can't go to London. You can't go to France. You can't go to Edinburgh, Scotland, or
the French Riviera.
Right. You can't go to the Sandals Resort in the Caribbean. You have to go to places that are not as well off as we are and see how the people really live. Now, I will tell you this. A couple of years ago, my wife and I took a trip to Sandals Resort in St. Lucia. And the resort is amazing.
It is.
But the beaten
path.
The drive from the airport to the resort and seeing electric power lines everywhere, as if it's a spider web, and people living in block houses, cardboard boxes or less. The wild packs of dogs roaming the place, chickens and goats everywhere. Just to see,
we've been to St. Lucia.
Yeah, just to see some of the poverty. And by the way, I mean that's not even terrible. There's much worse places than that.
Oh, sure.
So if you get the chance, listener, I would encourage you to travel. If you have the means to do it and you have the time, I would encourage you to travel and go some places that are not fiscally blessed
or free.
And you will come back to this country with a much greater appreciation for what's here. And then a lot of those people that are coming from countries that have extreme hardship, they know what they left. And so all of the people here that are crying fascism, communism, blah, 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 dictatorship, the people that come from those places where that really exists, they're like, you guys are just play acting. You have no idea. And you need to stay away from that. So, yeah, I don't, the original question was
moving people.
Yeah. The original question was, you lived here 36 years. Where'd you come from?
Yeah.
No, it's totally fine. But it's no secret, which is where we started, that everyone that lives in the upstate knows this area is exploding. I read recently that by 2040, our population is expected to reach 1.75 mil. It's 65% increase since 1990. We're currently sitting around 1.5 million, from what I could find online. Maybe that's a conservative estimate. But with such explosive growth projected for the upstate and for Easley, what concerns do you have for our city?
Well, the reason I campaigned and ran for mayor was the concern that I and several neighbors and people I talked with have for the explosive growth and the way we manage it, or we're managing it, or will manage it.
How were we managing it?
It appeared to be.
I'm not asking you to blast your predecessor.
Right. And I don't want to do that, because I have learned in these 14 months that you do the best you can. It's just like parenting. You do the best you can.
Right.
People have different priorities, and it's okay, but that's why we vote. To me, and several people that I spoke with, especially on the campaign trail, it felt random It felt like some of it didn't make sense. It felt like we weren't prepared. We weren't ready. We weren't thinking about it. And in all fairness and in all honesty, it felt a lot like COVID felt like when your church closed, when your business changed the way it did business, and it happened fast. That's the way we've been hit by growth. And a lot of small, sleepy southern towns, I just don't think any of us thought we were going to be hit this hard, this fast, and this way. Because if you think about it, if it had not been for COVID and some major political seismic activity, we probably wouldn't be growing this fast. We would be growing along just like we normally did. This has been explosive in ways that we weren't prepared for. Our streets are not ready for. So I campaigned on the idea of instituting a moratorium. And almost immediately, anybody that may not have agreed or did not plan to vote for me was, you're against growth. You want to stop growth. And that was not. I don't think we can stop growth. So this moratorium we instituted last May, and it was originally for 6 months. We knew going in it would probably have to be extended because the party that we're using, MRB Associates out of Charleston, did interview with us, and they said, with what you need and where we're going, it will take longer than 6 months. But we went for 6 months at a time. We didn't want to do too long. We didn't want to shock people, pull the rug out from under any growth. But there were, I think, and I don't think I put the figure down, but there was like 2,250 dwellings that were approved previously during the prior administration during the COVID shutdown. So we knew there was still a lot of approved property out there that had yet to be built. And a lot of people that are not aware of our moratorium, maybe they don't read our website or they don't come to council meetings, I don't know, still see this growth and think, oh, well, she didn't do anything. She hadn't done anything. They're not doing anything. But what they're seeing is still the fallout from all of that previously approved, which is fine, but
it's already set in motion.
Yeah, the complaints are, why would you put townhouses right here? Why are you going to put an apartment complex right here with people living on 2 acres? It just was so random. Mm-hmm. And so what we're trying to do is, knowing we cannot stop growth.
No.
Nor do we want to. I've been through some ghost towns. We can't stop it. What we want to do with this new Unified Development Ordinance, UDO, is to have it match the vision of what the people of Easley want, so that it makes sense, so that we can control, okay, if a developer's coming in and the street's falling apart, why don't you help us with the street? Mm-hmm. Why does the city have to eat that? You know what would be nice right here outside of this development would be some lighting. Why don't you help us put the lighting in? Things, thinking about, what's this going to look like in 20 years? How's this going to affect school traffic? Can this road handle this development?
Well,
just to do it smarter.
Yeah, I have a lot of complaints in my neighborhood about the road, about the roads in the, like, they build the house, there's no, you have this tiny driveway.
Yep.
That can barely fit 2 cars.
Right.
It's a quote unquote 2-car garage. But, you can barely, if people are parked on the street, you can barely navigate through, especially if you're a UPS driver or a FedEx guy or making deliveries. And it's like the developers,
they're going to stop in the road.
Right. And I get it. I get it to some degree. The developers, man, they want to squeeze every penny out of this acreage that they can. And I'm not against people making money.
Me either.
I'm not, but like, money cannot be your only guide, because if that's your only guide, then you're just corrupt to the soul, So I would like to see in some of these developments maybe a little bit wider roads and certainly some lighting in there.
Well, they're talking about that in the UDO, and we've got public meetings. This sounds a little bit like a commercial, but please go to our, and yourself as a citizen, go to our City of Easley website and look at our calendar. And these are public meetings for public input. And you can read what they've done so far in our UDO. But they're talking about putting in, of course, green spaces. We didn't have a green space ordinance anywhere in our ordinances. And so we're putting that in to do things like, maybe, okay, if you're going to cut down one of our 100-year-old cedar trees because you have to, because it fits your development, then maybe you can compensate by adding this much greenery or this much back into it. It's sort of like a give and take, so that the city benefits, the people benefit, the developer gets what the developer needs. It makes sense instead of just, wow, that's really crazy to put that right there and there's no room for anything else. It just doesn't. It just looked like a monopoly board, that somebody was just throwing up in the air rather than putting it together. And to be honest, some of our zoning ordinances and land use regulations are so old, they don't fit where we're going. So this company is putting them all together in one cohesive package to make it make sense for 2025 and moving forward what Easley wants to look like. Personally, I would love to see more residential growth in our downtown area because my kids like walkability. They like to be able to live and walk to the grocery store, and we have room to go up downtown. Our people that move here that like city life and walkability are fine with that. If you've got 2 acres somewhere with your homes on it that have been there for 40 years, then we can talk about keeping that more, rural's not a good word, but suburban looking than, oh, this is just too much for me. We can make it all work. The other thing in my mind, Scott, and I don't know as a realtor if you think this way, is all about perception. If a mom can get her kids to school and get to work and get home without sitting in a traffic light for 30 minutes that she didn't sit but 5 minutes last year, if she can be comfortable, or he, dad, young people that live here, if they can in their mind think that they've gotten through their day without getting too aggravated in traffic, then I think that's a win. I think it's a win. Can you get to the doctor and get back? Are you being 2 hours somewhere that you don't need to be? So we just need to make everybody comfortable. And if we can make everybody that moves here comfortable, that's going to take a lot of planning.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds easy, but that's tall
No,
order.
it's not.
You can't make you can't please everybody all the time.
Oh, you are preaching to the choir.
Yeah. And it's funny, just you brought it up here in this example about traffic, and you talked about it earlier when I mentioned being out of the disaster that is Woodruff Road. I came to South Carolina from Southern California in 2019.
Oh.
And so for a guy like me, traffic is relative. Now I understand with the increase in population, traffic is going to increase. I totally get it. But when people around here talk to me about traffic, I'm like, man, you ain't got no idea what traffic is.
I've seen people argue with people like yourself that have moved here from high traffic areas that have sat in traffic, and they say you need to stop complaining. You don't know traffic. So there's going to be
It's relative.
Yeah,
I get it. We're not in California. If you go sit on the 91 freeway,
it's the same
it's a
thing
parking
with
spot,
snow. Have you heard the snow arguments?
Yeah. But the 91 freeway in California, it's a 5-lane freeway,
right,
and it turns into a parking lot. I mean, it is insane. Now,
but we don't want that.
No, we don't want that. Infrastructure always a concern for a growing city, and I'm with you. We don't want to have no growth, because otherwise we're going to be a ghost town, and that's not good. I have my concerns about the city of Liberty. I just feel like those people kind of need to get it together.
And I do want to add that the moratorium is on high density residential development. We don't have a moratorium.
When you say high density, you mean apartment complexes?
Or townhomes or duplexes, sure. Yes. If you have a lot somewhere and you want to build a home, we don't have a moratorium.
I love single family homes.
Well, we don't have a moratorium on that.
Right.
And we don't have a moratorium on business. So we are open for business, and we are doing quite well as far as people still building and coming in for building permits and business license. But the moratorium is only on high density and neighborhoods.
Sure. I mean, this is probably a bad analogy. It works in the beginning. Cancer is, I know, right? But this is the only thing I can think of. What cancer is it's unrestricted growth. Exactly. It just grows out of control.
Exactly.
Now, obviously, we don't want anybody to have cancer. We don't want cancer to grow at all. But cancer just left to itself, it's just unrestricted growth, and it's going to kill you. And so what you try to do is manage
it.
And it's the same with to increase our current upstate population from another 25 million people over the next number of years. You have to do that responsibly, or it's just going to be bad for everybody. And that's, I don't envy your task. That's a That's a big thing to
It
try to
is a
handle.
big thing.
Yeah. So
And politics plays into that.
right. So back to the traffic, 123. It really, from a guy coming from a guy coming from Southern California, 123 is nothing. It's really not that bad. But to those people who've been living here 20 and 30 years, 123 between 3:30 and 7 o'clock is a nightmare. And I don't really know that there's much to do about it. You can't widen the road.
And it's a state road.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's a state issue. Like, I figure like the best thing you could do would be build a beltway, for lack of a better word, around. Not that we want to do that, but it's like with all of the traffic and the people moving here, what's the plan for 123?
Well, I just mentioned it's a state road. So DOT would be somebody that would have to approve or take that.
What's your
at task.
conversations with them like?
We have a lot of conversations. Right now, they're doing some traffic studies. I don't know if you've seen the counters. There's a set.
See them all over the place.
Well, there's a set on 123. There's like a set in front of the Dream Center across from the bank there, and I think there's another set. I just went across today. We were told recently, the most recent count I've gotten was that last year we had 11.4 million cars in the year go up 123. I don't know if that sounds like a lot for somebody from California. It's a lot for us.
It's a lot.
It's about 40,000 a day. There's several conversations about what to do. But Scott, again, when the government, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
Chris, when the government comes in to widen a state road, there's some eminent domain issues, and there's some, what do you mean you're going to take that much of my property?
Well, that's all getting into parking lots for businesses, and just, I don't know what you do about that.
And so there's been some conversations about, I don't know if you've been, there's certain towns on the coast that have one way only.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't, the medians are made so that you don't make left turns. You have to go down to a certain opening in the median and do a U-turn, or you have to put in a special light. That could cut some of we have accidents from people run red lights.
Really?
Yes. And 123 is so crazy, and I'm not making an excuse, and I'm definitely not supporting what they're deciding to do, but they get frustrated because you don't, if you don't have a turn lane or you don't have a turn signal, you may not turn. And so I think that contributes to it. So there has been conversation about that, but I don't know how popular that would be. And again, that's out of the city's control.
Right.
We can give our opinion.
But it's a state road.
It's a
at
state.
the end of the day.
Yes.
Well, that's something that's good for the residents of Easley to understand. This is not something that Mayor Talbert and the city council has really any control over. Because it's a South Carolina road.
No, it does help. They do have a website, and I do encourage people, especially when we talk about traffic and roads, and a lot of people ask me, you would be surprised at the things people think a mayor has the power to do. And so when I have those conversations, I encourage people to add their voice to ours. Because if we say to the state DOT, South Carolina DOT, this is a concern we have with this particular traffic area, oh, well, nobody else complains about it. So if you do have a particular concern or issue or complaint, let them know.
Now, as you said, we are the largest city in Pickens County.
Yes.
But I would just, in my gut, feel like whenever the City of Easley complains to DOT about 123, that you're kind of shooed away because they're Greenville, Columbia, Charleston, like that's where their attention's at. And
and to be fair, and I can see their side of it, their concern is fatality, not your inconvenience.
Not congestion.
Yeah.
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 That's fair. To an extent.
I mean, I understand that.
Yeah.
If somebody, and running red lights may change all of that, but because that is causing more fatalities, but they're not, and I'm not speaking for them because I would never do that, but it feels like the concern is more, if there's no fatalities there, we're not really concerned about the fact that somebody doesn't want to sit there a little bit longer. Yeah. They're safe. And I do
I can see
you
that.
have to try to see both sides.
Yeah.
To get anywhere.
I mean, 9 times out of 10, if I'm going to Greenville, I am on Saluda Dam Road all the way up to jumping on White Horse and then Blue Ridge. And then, I'm not even bothering with 123. That's just me. But of course, I happen to live off of Olive, which connects right into Saluda Dam. So, I wouldn't be going out of my way. I just try and avoid 123.
Yes.
That's just my personal.
And game day, forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
I took a look at the city's annual budget a while ago. And you said we're fixing to start a new fiscal year.
Every year, yes.
Yeah. Projected revenue at the time was $6.5 million and a total budget of $27.3. And in there we had the following: a $3 million proposed fire station and a $3 million ladder truck. And by the way, for a resident, I don't make it a habit of looking at city budgets. And so you don't know what you don't know. But I was just kind of blown away that a ladder truck's $3 million.
Me too. And did you, I don't know if your investigation revealed, it takes 3 years to build it.
Really?
Yes. So we ordered it. I had to sign the loan for it, and I may or may not see it. So,
wow.
3 years.
Because your term, you mean?
Right.
So how long is your term?
4 years.
Okay.
And I'm 14 months in.
Okay. Man. $3 million for a ladder truck and $3 million for a proposed fire station. And by the way, that's wild that a fire truck costs just as much as the whole fire station.
Right.
$415,000.
But not everybody builds those. You can't go down. There's no motor mile for fire trucks.
I see what you're saying. It's a specialty thing. Yeah. Makes you wonder about the price. $415,000 for new police cars, car cameras, and body cameras. $671,000 for maintenance and upgrades at JB Owens, Pope Field, Alice Field, Nally Brown, and the road through Haygood. And by the way, I'm all for this stuff. This is all infrastructure and necessary. So how are we doing on these?
Well, we are investigating some funding sources to build that fire station, and in conjunction with Senator Graham's office.
Where's the proposed location for the fire station?
Over on the Sacalola Road area over there.
Okay.
There's some land that really is not suitable for much else that we could use. And that's an area of the city that we don't have a fire station located, that we have a lot of growth. And then the ladder truck would be helpful because a lot of what's being built over there, I mean, we have apartment buildings, for example, behind Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
So a ladder truck would be very useful if we had a structure fire and something like that. And back behind Sam's, there's apartments back there. There's not a lot of single family lots on this side of 123, but over there. And the ladder truck we just talked about was ordered in October, so we do have a while to wait on that. And as far as the new police cars and the car cameras, we purchased an outfitted one vehicle, and we recently did receive 5 additional vehicles, and we're looking at a buyout of some leased vehicles. We received 5 car cameras, 5 body cameras, and 4 flock cameras, so we're doing good on those. And then you asked me about the maintenance and upgrades at our parks, and the parks are really important. Some people, I spoke with somebody this morning that didn't really care much about the parks, and I get it. The parks, the athletics, the outside activities, it's not for everybody, but it's for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people that move here for that. And it also attracts tourism money to our town. A lot of people drive here to bike the Doodle Trail, and they spend money in our restaurants. And so we do appreciate that. But JB Owens' work on the maintenance shed will get started soon, and we've got the Pope Field contract awarded, and that work's going on right now. But the cold weather did slow progress a little bit. You can't do pavement, you can't do asphalt.
Right. It's got to be a certain temperature outside. Yeah.
Aliceville we completed. For Nally Brown, a pre-bid meeting we held in January. The Haygood Road paving contract's been awarded, and of course, I think paving started now because of the weather getting better.
I have a question that was not. It just came to mind, and so if if you go to Greenville, obviously the Swamp Rabbit Trail is amazing. It's a great thing. They tout it, rightly so.
Mm-hmm.
Doodle Trail, I mean, it's cool. You know, it's not the Swamp Rabbit Trail. No
Yes,
offense.
you live here.
I do. I live here. Well, I want my city to be the best it can be.
Yes, you do.
And you do too.
I do.
Are there any plans to do some I don't know if upgrading is the right word. I mean, in Greenville they I don't know how it went because I've lived in the upstate since 2019. I've only lived in Easley almost 3 years. Okay, so when I moved to
So you're still relatively new.
I am. Yeah. So when I moved here, landed in Walhalla, okay, and then as my listeners know, went through a divorce, and then I wound up over here. I won't tell the whole story, but I'm relatively new to Easley, so about 3 years. So in Greenville, I don't know the origins of the Swamp Rabbit Trail or if they built the trail purposely into areas that were up and coming and well-to-do or plan to build around that. I don't know what the origins of the Doodle Trail are, so what are the plans to make it better? If that's a word,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's evolving is a good word.
There you go.
We are always talking about evolving our parks and our Doodle Trail, and I think there are long-term plans to connect at different places. And we're looking at properties, and you have to be careful. This is pedestrian and bike traffic, so you do have to be careful where it goes. And we have a train running right through the middle of our city, so we are constantly working on our parks and the Doodle Trail, and that's connected. A lot of people don't. One of the things I had to learn fast as a mayor is that the budget has different, I hate the word pots, but that's a good lay word to use, different pots, but designations. There are certain funds you can't use for just anything. And so our recreation and tourism is, a tax and hospitality tax and things fund that differently than first response or
right.
Other fiscal things. But we have a lot. It's funny, it takes so long to get things built, and by the time you build it, it's too small. We could use a bigger gym. We have so many people, and I'm going to mess the number up because this is not a question I was prepared to answer, but we had like 100, we have like 52 weekends. We had 120 requests to use the gym on the weekends.
That doesn't work.
No, but if we had bigger facility, the city is just being hit with so many people before we can grow to have room for it.
Mm-hmm. I know the Doodle Trail, it runs here in Easley, but it also makes its way into Pickens.
Correct.
So,
and they meet up.
Right. Is it a collaborative effort between the cities, or is it like, all right, where it stops here, this is Easley's responsibility, and y'all do?
Well, it is, but there's a lot of Yes, it's our Doodle Trail, it's their Doodle Trail, but they collaborate very well. And our Parks and Rec director and their Parks and Rec director are in contact very frequently. And with our events and the things that we do together, they work it together. Yeah. And they look out for both cities, yes.
Yeah. My wife and I recently...
It's in both our interests to do that.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. My wife and I recently joined the new, I don't know how new it is, but it's relatively new, the YMCA here in Easley.
It's wonderful.
It's a beautiful facility.
Yes, it is. They do great work.
Yeah, I mean... The track, the courts, the pool, the everything, the saunas,
their
the
child
gym.
Care.
Oh, I didn't know they offered that.
They're getting ready to open child care, and they do after school programs, and I think
it's been a great addition to the city.
It is.
When did it open? Do you know? I mean, it's relatively new.
The new one very recently because I was there. So in the last year, the new one. But the YMCA's been here.
Sure. Oh, well, is that YMCA just a new facility and the other one closed?
Is. No, the other one that they moved from is where they're opening their child care facility.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be wonderful for the moms in Easley. That I don't know if you have littles, but child care in Easley is hard to find right now. Well, the growth, there's a lot of things that's hard to find, but there are all of the daycare centers are full, all of the in-home care. People don't have waiting lists for 1 and 2 years. So the Y opening, and I can't remember the exact number, I'm sure I've got it written down somewhere, they're going to be able to service a lot of kids and moms and families out of that facility. So we've got some good stuff.
No, it's a beautiful facility.
It is.
I was actually there this morning. I'm surprised my arms work. They're very tired. But yeah, it's a great spot, and I'm glad that we
you guys joined.
Yeah, it's good. There's a lot of benefits to it, and I think it's great for the city, and they did a really good job.
And we have a great walking track inside of our Larry Bagwell gym. I don't know if you've been there.
Mm-mm.
It's great. We do a lot of our markets there, and of course, a lot of ball activity and a lot of team sports happen there. But we have some senior, not that you're ready for this, but we have like some senior yoga classes.
I'm not ready for that.
Some things that go on there. And
my gray beard may say otherwise, but I'm not ready for that
People love that. And the indoor track upstairs is fabulous.
Okay.
And it's a safe, climate-controlled environment for people to go walk.
Yeah. Obviously, if a city is going to grow, it needs to be business-friendly. And you already said there's no moratorium on business here.
Correct.
But what are you and or the city council doing to make Easley an attractive place for business?
Well, over the past year that I've been here, can't speak to previously, so I don't know that it's that new, but we have increased our events a good bit. We've planned and hosted numerous city events to attract visitors, to showcase what the town has to offer. We love to do it downtown if possible. Of course, we have businesses all over Easley, so we do try to attract traffic to come into town. But 123 is kind of a no-brainer. You drive through it.
You're right through the heart of the
You
city.
drive it and you see it. But a lot of people don't come necessarily to the heart of downtown.
Right.
So it's not that we care more about one than the other. We want all of them to do well, but it's just easier. The 123 businesses have more visibility. 135. But downtown, we've done a lot of events. Our spring fling is coming up, and it'll sort of kick off the season of everything. That's the 5th, and it's from like 12 to 8 downtown. We have, I think there's over 70 vendors and bands, and people just come and have a good time, and that brings traffic into downtown businesses. I'd love to see more businesses downtown, take advantage of it, and more businesses come in. But we do that, and then we'll hit the farmers market. We'll be out here, and that's a big deal. People love farmers markets. And then moving on into, we're going to do 4th of July. We have, oh my gosh, we had treats on the street this past year. There were 7,400 cell phone pings from that alone. It was incredible. But our Chamber of Commerce continues to be a proactive partner in supporting both the new businesses and established businesses. They have been wonderful to work with. Recently, they began working with the Small Business Association to launch a SCORE chapter in Easley. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I'm not.
It's a mentorship program where a mentor is assigned to a new business. Dr. Brian Swords is the director at the Chamber, and I've been really impressed at how he's having experienced owners coach and guide some of our new businesses, some of the new entrepreneurs. And they're also integrating existing members into this initiative, so it fosters sort of a collaboration. Business owners get to know each other and become more of a family working together. And he mentioned, I was at the Chamber Awards ceremony Thursday, and he talked about how he tried to have some, I would have called it an exit interview, but he met with several businesses that had closed to just sort of ask them what happened. Mm-hmm. What do you think? What was your experience? And he said he was a little bit taken aback. The question he asked was something to the effect of, what about your business plan didn't work? And he said almost 100% of those people said, I didn't have a business plan. And so he said it was very valuable to him for the Chamber, and they're right there. So we talk frequently about how we get, what's going on, how we get people here, how many people are asking. And he set up some really good programs to help our small business owners. So I think that's awesome. And they are launching the Chamber Business Academy, which is going to be a year-round series of seminars led by members on some really important topics like writing a business plan, understanding accounting, maybe navigating tax regulations, which seems to blow a lot of people away. And they're going to also bring in guest speakers to discuss those issues that affect the businesses. And I'm particularly excited about their renewed focus on manufacturing. During COVID, he said that they had a lot of the manufacturers go to the wayside out of the chamber, and they have renewed their focus on engaging them, and they plan to offer industry-specific seminars to those manufacturers and speakers events tailored to their needs. And I think that's huge. We have, he's hired a person that specifically focuses on the manufacturers here in Easley.
Well, I think I'm glad you said that because, you talked about earlier when we were talking about things in the upstate, with BMW and Michelin, and we've also got people manufacturing tires and just all kinds of stuff. But that ain't in Easley. That's in Greenville.
Right.
And obviously the people that work there, some of them live in Greenville. Not all of them do. They'll live here and they'll drive in. And it's like if a city is, we don't want to have to be in the position where we're surviving off of what Greenville provides. And so, to have manufacturing come to Easley and to have these kinds of programs that is engaging with them and saying, hey, this is what our city's all about. This is what we're offering. That's a big deal. And, I think we need that.
I do too. I do too. They're doing a great job. And he says that they're being contacted weekly, by people that are looking at our area. And in my opinion, even if it's not just inside the city limits, if it's 3 miles outside the city limits, it still helps city residents job-wise, economy-wise.
Yeah. And I think some of those programs you were talking about that's being put on by the chamber for new business owners and being able to have that mentorship from an experienced business owner is huge because you don't know what you don't know. And I'm not going to belabor the point because my listeners have heard it before, but to have a program like that where you can sit down and just have somebody teach you and walk you through what you need to know about business taxes, what you need to know about how to navigate my doorway, and just all of those things that, whenever I started, I was just clueless about. That's super valuable.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think they're doing a great job. And, to the point I made earlier about our events, if we can bring 7,400 cell phones, now that cell phone might come with 4 people, but if we can bring 7,400 cell phones to walk in front of your door,
yeah,
I think that's huge.
I agree.
So that we're working on it. I would love to have lots of different kinds of businesses downtown.
So switching over to keeping it Easley, but switching over to the law and order side of things, Easley seems to be a pretty safe place to live. I've never had any issues, but that's anecdotal. That's just me.
Yeah.
What raises concerns for you in our city?
We've had a bad week last week, but that's rare. But traffic violations, that's becoming an increasing concern because I hear from it. Had a meeting this morning with somebody that's concerned about some traffic. And what really is sad is it's coming from people that live inside of neighborhoods. 123 we know, 153 we know traffic's going to be heavy, we know traffic's going to be bad, but cut-through traffic is a term that I'm hearing from people that live inside neighborhoods. Sometimes there's a cut-through, and they're going through there to get somewhere faster than if they stayed on the main roads.
Right.
But some of these subdivisions that I'm hearing from have no outlet. So we're talking about people that live there, speeding at dangerous and reckless levels, and there are kids walking and people outside walking their dogs, and it's every day that we're hearing it. So that's a big concern, and drivers running stop signs and red lights. And I've heard we've talked about it, we're researching it, we're working on it. I've heard a lot of reasons why people do that. Some people say that during COVID, there just wasn't enough traffic on the road for people to worry about it. Back to personal responsibility, I just don't know if I agree with that. So I've heard that, South Carolina reduced its highway patrol in the 1980s by 75% and put some of that responsibility back on the cities. Maybe that's it. I know when I was a young driver, it seemed like I couldn't go anywhere without seeing highway patrol. So there's a presence. And when you have that presence, people are a little bit more conscious of what they're doing. It's easy. Now, running a traffic light's a different thing, but letting your foot get a little bit heavy sometimes when there's you never see any presence, I get it. Many are struggling. Many of our residential areas are struggling with this. So as we're preparing this year's budget, and you and I have talked about that, and I've been to several events lately where I'm trying to prepare people for the fact that because we're growing, we have almost 28,000 people, close to 28,000 people last count. That's a lot of people for the amount of first responders that we have. We have on duty at any given time 5 patrol officers.
That's not enough.
No, it's not. And those patrol officers are responsible for everything, not just traffic, everything that happens in our city, and not just from those citizens, but from anybody passing through or that happens to be visiting. Anything that happens within our city limits, they have to respond to. 5 people. So there is a lot of frustration. I hear from people that say, why can't you just have a policeman sit at every red light? We do. Why can't we have somebody park on their brake at every stop sign? Well, we don't have that many officers to begin with.
Right.
So it's just not very realistic. So I am going ahead and preparing people now that if we are going to meet your need for protection, we have to accept the fact that we have the lowest millage rate in Pickens County outside of 6 Mile, who has no first responders. They use the county. So we have the lowest millage rate, and we're the biggest. We're the biggest city. Well, people see that's not politically easy.
No, but if you want more police presence, that money don't come. It didn't come from nowhere.
What I like to say is we can give you anything you want if you're willing to pay for it.
Right.
So if you want somebody at every traffic light and you're willing to pay those officers who also have families and house payments and grocery bills and they're buying eggs and gas too, then we have to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And I think when we have people that move here, and I've mentioned this at precinct meetings and events I've just recently done, and a lot of people that have moved here, just like yourself, say, oh my gosh, I pay nothing here. You should see what I paid there.
Right.
And so I think people are going to be accepting of it. But we may, and I don't know yet because we haven't done the math, but I don't know how we're going to increase. What we'd like to do is add a traffic dedicated patrol that does nothing but traffic. We're going to need to increase our fire protection, because we've had a lot of structure fires lately, and our firefighters are stretched very thin. And I just think as a city, we need to meet that growth responsibly. So that's something I just want people to think about. I've asked people to email me at ltalbert@cityofeasley.com and let me know what they want, what they support, what they think. Because I've said I know I'm a politician by name, but I consider myself a public servant, and I want what the people want. So if you want it, let me know. If you don't want it, let me know.
Well, you just can't have 5 officers responsible for 28,000 people. I mean, that's not hard math. And I understand
in my opinion, you can't not pay those people.
Agreed.
Because we already, last year I started tackling this in our budget, trying to make salaries more competitive and to increase their living wage, because we are training first responders, fire and police, and every city around us pays more to start.
Yeah.
So trying to retain our experience and our knowledge and what we put into training, and for people that live here that want to stay here, but they have families to feed, they have bills.
Sure, absolutely. And I feel like, the last several years in our nation and everything that's happened, it made wanting to be a police officer very difficult.
It does. And our force is young.
Right. And I often feel that, the cops on the streets, the infantry, if you will, their pay is not equivalent to the job. I mean, the potential of getting shot should require a good salary, because that's the obligation to run into a burning home or building, your place of business,
and put your life on the line.
That ought to require a handsome paycheck, but that's not how it is. And some of that needs to change, and citizens should realize that that's going to increase my millage rate. But
We are blessed in our city.
We are.
With the local option sales tax.
Sure.
Which means that you already, if you've looked, a lot of people will complain about the millage rate that don't even know what they pay. But if you'll look at your last tax notice, you will see that a good chunk of that was removed because the citizens get 40% back on that local option sales tax that comes off your property taxes. Mm-hmm. So we are paying less than most people anywhere on our taxes. And in my opinion, if we can increase the millage and get 4 more cops or 4 more firefighters for that little bit of increase in the millage, but we don't feel it, why would we not?
Sure. That makes sense to me.
But I'm one vote.
Yeah. So speaking of these things, and I need to see if I can maybe get Sheriff Blankenship on the podcast. But do the mayors of the cities that comprise Pickens County, do y'all have any, like, regular meetings with the sheriff? Or
not to my knowledge, not that I've been advised of. Like I'm always open to meeting and speaking with anybody, but I do have. I have full confidence that if I needed to speak with Sheriff Blankenship, he would be highly responsive, just as I would be for him.
Sure.
I don't think that's an issue. And our city law enforcement team is outstanding. And I know that they maintain a strong relationship with him, and they work.
That's where the main communication is?
Almost daily.
Okay.
Almost daily. And so we have that ability to connect.
Yeah.
And if they connect, kind of that means
sure. I was just ignorant on the subject. I was just curious, and that makes sense that more the law enforcement division would communicate more with the sheriff.
And I have the ability to have direct communication at any minute with SLED and the sheriff.
Right. Okay. Well, I have a friend who lives in Easley who lost a son to fentanyl, right? And in fact, he was my 3rd podcast episode. His name's James Capps. And so he and his wife started a foundation, Parents Against Fentanyl, as a result. And I know it's a problem everywhere. How much of a problem is that here?
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Fentanyl has become a nationwide epidemic, as you mentioned, and we're not immune to that. I took some information down and pulled some studies because obviously I've only been here 14 months and I wanted some statistics for you. And by 2021, our study showed that it had almost entirely replaced heroin in our drug market here. So in the past 3 years alone, the Easley Police Department has investigated 22 overdose deaths, and all of those, nearly all, have been linked to fentanyl. And since 2021, we have participated in the, it's South Carolina Leon, or the Law Enforcement Officer Narcan program, and that equips every officer with Narcan to counteract any opioid overdoses. Their officers here have administered Narcan to 34 individuals as of my gathering this information, often requiring multiple doses of that, but 34 individuals. And tragically, only one of those was somebody that was beyond being revived. So I think that's successful. Beyond the emergency response, our officers do engage in some proactive outreach. They have taught me, I've sat through some of their instruction. They conduct drug awareness discussions at the police department. They talk to some of our youth programs that I was actually able to attend, schools and different community venues. The narcotics agents that Easley has are very aggressive about investigating drug issues, sales, overdose deaths, whatever, within the city. And they also work with cases that are connected to our jurisdiction, but maybe it started here, ended up there, started there, ended up here. So I do have a lot of that. And we do collaborate closely with SLED, the SCDC, and multiple federal partners we have too. Our agents were among the first in the area to successfully take an overdose death case to the federal level, securing the conviction and the sentencing of a fentanyl dealer. And then we have pursued some long-term investigations through the state grand jury.
Yeah.
And that has resulted in dozens of arrests. So we aggressively pursue it. It's a huge problem. I personally have 8, I was going to say 9, but the 9th was 8 friends that have lost children.
That's heartbreaking.
And it just dawned on me when I said it, they're all males. I don't know if fentanyl's more, I don't know. I don't know. Drugs don't really have a...
They're not sexist.
No, but it's just odd that they've been lost.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's heavier male. I mean, it just...
I don't know.
You know, and
They
that's
just
probably
hit
a
me.
deeper rabbit hole with Sheriff Blankenship. You know, if I can get him on the show to talk about that.
I personally feel like, and this is not, well, it does affect the city. Open borders
Sure.
affect all of us.
Absolutely.
But I'm hoping and I'm praying. We know that fentanyl's coming across borders.
100%.
So we're hoping and we're praying that we're going to see a reduction, significant reduction, as those things become more handled.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. A very diplomatic way to put it.
Yes.
And maybe this question is too broad, although I think you've alluded to it just a little bit here and there. But what do you need as the mayor from the residents of Easley?
That's tough, because what I'd love to say is be more involved, but I also understand that people elect officials so they don't have to be, because I was one of them.
Yeah.
And I was saying a lot during my campaign. I'm running because I've lived in this town at the time 34, 35 years. And you know what I did? I worked my behind off. I worked a very highly stressful job. I worked all the time. And I did my laundry, and I fed my kids, and I took my kids to school. And, you know, my husband and I did what we had to do with our home. And we expected people that we elected to do what they were supposed to do and to do the right thing. So over the years, when this COVID thing happened and all this overreach has happened, we're surprised. You know, maybe not you, maybe you too. But it's like, when did this happen? Was I asleep? And I carry a lot of guilt that I just was apathetic about what people were really doing. I trusted people. And so while I say I would like for you to be more involved, I don't really know that that's fair, because be involved how? You know, I mean, be involved, I guess what I should say is not be involved, but be aware, to educate yourself as much as you can and have time to do and interest to do, and support your city. I mean, I know that you're out there working, and all of that said, the best source of information, because social media is very toxic, and our kids right now in Pickens County, well, the state, let me say the state, but in Pickens County are going through one of the worst things I think that they think has ever happened. It's the apocalypse. Their phones have been taken away at school.
It's good for them.
It is. It's good. It's good. Social media has become more toxic.
I only have it for business. If I wasn't running a business, I wouldn't even mess with it.
Well, what I would like to say is, if you need information, if you're a citizen of Easley and you need information, I would not recommend that you go to a neighborhood group and ask a question about your trash pickup or your police protection or your budget or what's being done. We have a website. It's cityofeasley.com. And we have taken great pains to update that website so that all of the department information is there. All the contact information is there. The city calendar is there. Every bit of documentation we can get on the site is there. I would like citizens to go to the source of truth.
Right. Well, and you already said, and I think this is it, like, you want residents to email you and say, what do you want or what do you not want?
And make an appointment and come by and talk to me. I love that. You see my welcome sign? I wanted this office to be the people's office, not just, I mean, that's why there's very little expense in here.
Sure.
Including the carpet, because
Right.
I want people to feel comfortable here. Somebody said to me, I don't know if that's a good idea. It's intimidating to make an appointment with the mayor. And I'm like, I don't know why.
Well, you know, whenever I was doing my podcast, I just said to my wife one night, I'm like, you know, I should interview the mayor. And I didn't know if you'd say yes or no, but, you know, I've learned that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I'm like,
That's right.
I'm just going to write her and see if she'll come on. And you're like, yeah, I'd love to speak to the citizens. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, that's cool. She said yes.
Every chance I get. And for the entire time that we've lived here, and that has not changed since I've been mayor, my husband works from home, and I always worked from home. And 6 days a week, we patronize city businesses for lunch. 6 days a week, we put our money into town, and I still do. And I have places that I still go in and eat, and they're just finding out I'm the mayor. They're like, you didn't tell me you're the mayor. I'm like, it wasn't important. I came in here for a hamburger. But it's just...
I wish all politicians viewed their position that way, their office. It's not really important. I mean, it is in many regards, but it's
more
you don't need to
important.
run around telling people you're the mayor.
No.
So what?
No.
Yeah.
No. But finally, what I would like to ask citizens for is prayer, because I'm a believer, and I believe prayer moves mountains, and it truly has. It's why I'm here. It's why I'm still here. It's why we've been able to do what we do. I have been blessed by people coming in and praying with me. So it's important, if you care about your city, that however you care about your city, however you pray, that you keep the people, especially our first responders, they deal with things that people should never have to see. So I would like to ask the citizens to ask us if they have a question, get the real information, to pray for us.
Okay. Go to the city website, email Mayor Talbert, and pray. And then just be a decent person. How about that?
Yep.
Well, let me say this, that finding your dream home starts here. As a realtor with C. Dan Joyner, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, and a Nexus Group member, I'm a dedicated realtor with a service-oriented attitude towards helping clients achieve their real estate goals. If you're a first-time home buyer navigating the market, a seller looking for top dollar, or a seasoned investor, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Whether you're looking for a condo in downtown Greenville, a home on Lake Kiwi, or a more private home with some land, I'd love to chat with you and help you in your journey. You can contact me today for a free consultation, and let's find your perfect property. You can get me direct at 864-207-2316, or visit my website, Chris Strother, that's STROTHER, chrisstrother.cdanjoyner.com. Mayor, we've got one more section, but I want to be sensitive to your time. We're good?
Yeah, we're
okay. You let me know before the podcast that most of your career has been in healthcare administration. 20 years in medical claims management. That sounds super exciting.
It was.
I don't know if you could hear the sarcasm.
I loved it.
No, well, that's good.
Because
good.
it was, my job was relationships.
Oh, okay. That makes it better. But 20 years in claims management, 10 years at the United Health Group, and 8 of those 10 as provider advocate for 16 different counties in South Carolina. How many counties do we have as a state?
43, I believe.
Okay.
And watch, I'm going to lose a Jeopardy question on that. I used to know before my brain was taken over by city government.
Yeah. Well, that's a substantial number. 16 counties in South Carolina, and you even did some work for our federal contract affiliates.
Yes.
That's a lot. And we're living in interesting times in America when it comes to healthcare. And as someone who knows the industry very well, did you come straight? Had you retired from that business life before becoming the mayor, or become elected mayor? All right, I've got to quit, and now I got a new job.
That was a very strange God thing, but I had moved. COVID completely altered my job as an advocate. I had 16 counties, and I had 2 health systems. I had Atrium, and I had Missions Hospital in North Carolina that were assigned to me. And every contracted physician or hospital in those 16 counties that had a United Healthcare contract was mine. And so I traveled a lot. It was very stressful, but I loved it because my job was policy education and relationships and claims problems and contract issues, mediating, and I loved it. But when COVID happened, there was no more face-to-face. Changed everything. And that sort of prompted me to take a career move to the federal contractor, which in hindsight was a mistake, but it was to help them set up a duplicate program of our provider relations program. So it was a lucrative job move, and I was already stuck at home behind a computer screen, and I'm like, what difference does it make? So because of COVID, and I wasn't out on the street like I was used to.
Yeah.
And so I just did it, and I did it, and I didn't like it.
I was going to ask you, you said it was a mistake, but why? Because you hated it?
It was government. It was
federal government.
Federal government. What you can do at this company, because this is a Fortune 500, well, it's all Fortune. United Health Group owns a bunch of companies. But you have freedoms within the industry over here. But when you're federal, you have to do what the government says. You have to do everything the way the government says. It's just crazy. And it was very restrictive and it was just different. The doctors weren't independent. they were hired by the government. So it was very different. And it just wasn't relationship driven. It was rule driven. It was regulation driven. And so it just wasn't my thing. And so I had some discussions about moving back to the other company, and some movement was going on inside the industry, and they were merging some affiliates, and I took the opportunity to take not a pension, what am I trying to say? A severance, and have a few months to play between talking about moving back. And that few months was the campaign. And I had become concerned with some things going on, and talked to my pastor and prayed about it. And I kept coming up with this mayor thing, and I thought, this is nuts. I need a therapist. And I kept thinking, this cannot be, no, not me. I got plans, got to get my other job to do. In real life, in reality, that job's gone forever. And the industry has changed in ways it'll never go back to what it was. But this is where God meant for me to be. And so this is where I am. But when I won the runoff, I had just had my 4th job interview, 4th consecutive for the same position, to go back. And I had to make a hard decision.
Wow. No, that's awesome. I love hearing people's stories.
Well.
I love people to talk to me about how they got where they are now. And it's just such an interesting journey. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a background, and just what life brings your way, or what God puts in your path. It's just unique, to everyone. And to hear that is just,
I have no doubt I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Sure.
For now.
That may change. It may not. I mean, it will, because you'll be term limited, I'm sure. But
we don't have term limits in Easley.
Oh, really?
But I'm thinking about going there.
Yeah.
Thinking about suggesting that.
Not a bad idea. So I mentioned a few minutes ago that we are living in interesting times when it comes to healthcare in America, with all of the talk around, vaccines, and of course the COVID thing, additives in our food, the appointment of RFK. What is your take, since you know this industry so well, what's your take on where we're headed?
To be fair, I have been out of that sphere for almost 2 years. Well, a little longer than 2 years.
Okay.
So, and things move rapidly, and have moved rapidly, especially in the political climate. But saying that to say, I believe in free enterprise. I am not for government-controlled healthcare. I am not a proponent for state bureaucratic control of healthcare. But I do believe that some changes need to be made.
Such as?
Well, I think it's an endless circle, and what happened, and I don't want to speak specifically to United Healthcare, but we know that was a big, violent thing that just happened. And so I don't believe anybody has the right to take somebody else's life out of anger. I don't care how upset you are about your medical claims. I don't think you take somebody's life. So I don't support anything like that. But, I'm back to your question about the tobacco and regulations. I believe in free enterprise, and I believe that good quality health care is not necessarily the same as free health care. Free health care does not equal fast health care.
No.
But I think, and I'm just, me, I don't run a healthcare company, but I think competition is key. But it's a circle that you see in a lot of industry where when you have medication, and I don't know if it's not any of my business if you take medication, but when you see medications that cost $10,000 a month, and your insurance company has to eat the majority of that, that's why your premiums are high. That's why insurance companies are trying to regulate. We need to approve this. We need to review this because it's $50 million here and $50,000 for 2 days here. And I can speak personally that I had a medical issue the same summer I was campaigning and had to have a CAT scan. I don't know if you've ever had one of those. I was I turned my car off to go in for one, got back in my car to turn it on to leave. It was 8 minutes. 8 minutes lapsed. $12,000. And of course, me, I'm inside the machine going, I can't believe this is so fast. Why am I paying 12? I could take my entire family on 2 world cruises.
Sure. Yeah.
She's like, well, if it makes you feel any better, we have to, I work here and we have to pay the same thing. I said, no, it doesn't. It doesn't make me feel any better. Because, I have a high deductible. I believe in high deductibles and HSAs. I just do. I believe your money works better for you. But I just am appalled at the cost. So I think it's a circle. Insurance companies pay some very high prices.
Mm-hmm.
Doctors pay very high prices for their equipment and their chairs and their machines.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of regulation, but something needs to be looked at in that circle.
Yeah. Well, I am by no means an expert in this industry. I'm not an expert in hardly any industry. But I wouldn't even begin to even hazard a guess at how much it costs to manufacture a CT machine.
No, but after you charge $12,000 for 8 minutes for it over a period of...
Well, I'm just saying, you have a hospital. Well, you said, free health care. And I know, there's no such thing as free anything.
No, there's not. And I could tell you horror stories.
Yeah. Well, you have a hospital that's being built. Okay. That costs a lot of money. And then you've got to staff it. And then you have to have all the equipment in it. And that all costs money. And then the insurance, I don't know. It's just, I see what you're saying. That's this cycle and everybody needs to get paid. And people are angry at insurance companies. And I don't just mean healthcare insurance, auto insurance, homeowners insurance. Look at the fires 100%. In California. People are angry. And then you throw the federal government in there, and there's so much red tape. People can't get the help they need, even though they've paid their premiums and copays. We're still upset about, there's still people in North Carolina that are...
But competition is key. And a lot of people don't realize that at one time, and I'm speaking 2 years out of school, there were regulations that prohibited insurance companies from doing business across state lines. So there's a handful of insurance companies you have a choice from. If insurance companies had some regulation relief to compete.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think...
And I do think health systems get way too big.
Sure. Let me quote my broker who often says that headlines do more to terrify than clarify. Headlines are for clicks and eyeballs, but...
I like that.
Yeah. When people, for instance... $12,000 for 8 minutes in a CT machine.
And some of that was signing in.
Okay. Fair enough. 7.5 minutes. And their deductibles are high or their copays or whatever. But then they turn around and they see on the news that last year's profits for United Healthcare Group were in the millions, if billions of dollars.
But what they don't understand,
and
where this confusion comes in, is United Health Group is not their insurance company. United Health Care is their insurance company. Those are two different entities. And in my mind, and I'm not the boss of them, I would change that. It's a perception. United Health Group owns hundreds of companies and one insurance company. Well, it's not fair to say one insurance company because now they've diversified, sure. But not all those companies. So those profits are not all insurance.
It's like Warren Buffett.
Right.
He's got, oodles of money, but he owns like 10,000 companies.
Yeah. Does his money come from Pop-Tarts or does his money come from cars? I mean,
yeah, it comes from both and everything else in between.
But I can, and that again is just a perception because everybody would say United Health owns United Health Group or Care, two companies.
Okay. So, and maybe you can give an answer to this. We're talking a little bit about it, but what don't people understand about the healthcare industry that maybe you can shed some light?
Be proactive. And I'm going to say it again. I've said this, healthcare and healthcare insurance are services. They're services, just like a waitress or anything else. And you have the power to decide what you're willing to pay for. You have the power to decide care, your doctor, and your insurance. You have to know that there's a certain, and I want to talk about, I'm speaking in my personal experience, for example, just with my parents. There's a certain generation of people that just because the doctor said it is law, just because your insurance company sent it to you, this is the way it is. And people need to know that they can question and they can shop around. And I think some insurance companies, I know when I was there, are being more proactive in letting you know. My latest carrier through my husband called me during that experience and said, you are aware that there is an independent imaging company down the street that does this for 25% of the cost. So if people just did, okay, you're going to have, I don't know, foot surgery. So, Chris, you look up and you see, okay, this surgeon, what does this cost versus what does this cost? Do I have to have it outpatient? Do I have to have it inpatient? Can I have it outpatient? You need to ask questions because sometimes people are just on automatic in some of these services. They assume you want the whole package. They don't know. Maybe you don't need the whole package. Maybe you don't need this medication. Is there a cheaper medication? Some insurance companies, we were taking steps into tier drugs and step drugs to say, okay, do you need the $10,000 medication? Right now, $10,000 medication. Let's try the $250 medication that's supposed to do the same. It's not the name brand, but let's see if it does the same thing. And the step process is if it doesn't work, then we go. Then we do. Let's don't start with the 10,000 medicine. Let's start with the 2. But people are just, okay, whatever. And to be fair, that's the way it's always been. And you're busy and you work and you have other things to worry about. So you want to trust your providers, but it's a service industry. You need to be more proactive. So that's one thing. Be a smart health consumer. Stay involved in the decisions about what you're going to do about your health. And, I said this, remember, free and cheap does not mean good. I could tell you stories just from office managers that I talked to that had family members in other countries that were dealing with things like someone had a 96-year-old grandmother in Germany that was just allowed to pass away from pneumonia because she was 96, and it was not profitable for the country's health care program to do anything for a 90. They felt like that was not a good investment.
Right.
When you give the government power over your very life. Okay, so it's cheap. It didn't cost them anything, but their grandmother passed away from them. Your grandmother, your decision, but I would want that option. I'm an American that way. And then another had a nephew in England, young, that broke his top, I don't know what this bone, I can't remember what this bone is called.
Humerus.
Yeah, humerus. So badly that the bone was outside.
Compound fracture.
Yes. He had to wait so long to be seen and to have it set, but it's free, but he had to wait so long that it grew back incorrectly. They could not repair it to the extent it needed to be repaired. Now he's on permanent disability, young man, under 30. So now the government's taking care of him for the rest of his life because he's not capable. But it was free. So be careful what you ask for.
Mm-hmm.
When you hand other people, you need autonomy over your health care. And there are other ways to drive costs down. And you just need to get proactive. You need to know, you need to ask questions. Why do I need this medicine? What will this medicine do? Some people will just take anything.
Yeah, well, that's one of the frustrations. And I don't propose to have solutions here.
No, me either.
But that's one of the things that people get frustrated about with the healthcare industry, because you have the boards and the executives, and all you are to them, you're just a number on a piece of paper, right?
Especially as crowded as they are now.
We're just a statistic. You don't know me, you don't know my family, you don't know my needs. But I mean, I think you're on the right track. As far as the healthcare industry goes, they're running a business.
Yes.
And,
it is,
and
it
you're
is.
supposed to be running your life and your family. So you need to be proactive about your own care and searching out, can I get, like you said, can I get this same medication that provide the same function, but it's not the name brand? Can I get this imaging at this clinic over here that it only charge me $50 if I pay them cash?
Right.
Yeah. And I think the Make America Healthy Again is good. We'll see what happens in practice. My personal position, yes, is that the system is a mess, but people need to take here's our buzzword for the podcast: personal accountability, and do things necessary to help get themselves in better shape. Because as the old saying is true, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
I completely agree. I'm a little bit of I'm a label reader. I have an app on my phone, and if it doesn't rate good at the lowest level, it's not going in my cart. I'm a little bit, I get on my family's nerves a little bit with that. My kids, when I was raising them, I had this buzzword called superfoods. If you need to eat this, it's a superfood. And they're like, Mom, stop with the superfoods. Broccoli, anything dark colored. You need to eat this purple cabbage. It's a superfood. I'm going to try not to be so bad with my grandkids, but I agree. Do your research. Take responsibility for your choices. We said that. I do believe our food is full of harmful ingredients. I do.
There is no question.
I do. And I truly hope that issue gets some attention and we see some changes in some of our foods. Look, I grew up eating, I don't know, I'm not going to tell you how old I am. I grew up eating things that were completely different composition when I ate them than they are now. They don't look the same. They don't taste the same. I mean, McDonald's French fries. Okay. They used to be fried in beef fat. They used to be real potatoes. I don't even know what they are now. They taste like cardboard. No offense to McDonald's. But
it's okay if we cause offense to McDonald's.
Well, they're trying to make a living too. And, I do love some McDonald's. I grew up on McDonald's. I just wish they'd go back to the real food.
Yeah.
And I do know when I was little, and moms were all working and not at home anymore, not able to be Martha Stewart and grow their own wheat for their own bread or whatever she does. I do understand that convenience probably started us down this path. And I suspect profit has a lot to do with it and maybe some research along the line. But if we know it's bad and we know we're not getting good results, let's get it out of our food.
Yeah. Well, I feel a lot better personally. I don't mean to, bore my listeners. Just I've changed a lot of habits in my life and, down 36 pounds.
So good for you.
Yeah, but it's done that. So what I did was I stopped drinking soda.
Yep, no soda
I stopped,
for me.
By and large. I do from time to time, but I stopped the fast food. I stopped the highly processed, the Little Debbie snacks and the ice cream and the cookies. And now,
Wow.
and look, if you're out there and you're struggling and you don't feel good and your weight's too high and really unless you have a physical malady that requires some actual medication, but if you're just generally overweight and you don't feel good and blah, 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 this is a head game. It's a head game and a determination issue. You can stop consuming those things, and you can change your life. And so now my diet is pretty much meats, fruits, vegetables, dairy, and that's about it.
And if you're like
And
me,
it's
you're
whole
looking
food.
for the nitrate-free, uncured
Right.
meat.
Well, I freaked my wife out a while back. I just telling her that I'm in the store looking at labels, and she's like, "Who are you? Who is this?" And I even blew her, I said, and then I spent a few extra dollars on this olive oil because it was in a glass bottle instead of plastic, and the plastic's not leaching into the oil.
Microplastic.
She's like, "I haven't even harped on that yet." And so, yeah, and in my estimation, it's probably worth it. I feel a lot better 36 down than I did. My knees are better, my ankles are better, my lower back is better. It's just, and all I did.
And somebody would have been glad to give you a prescription for all those things.
But all I did was change what I was eating. That's all I did. And now I'm starting to incorporate some walking and weights at the Y. And so I want to continue that downward trajectory.
Good for you.
225 is my next goal. I was at 267.
And you feel empowered. You feel like you've taken some control.
Well, here's the fun thing about it. When you get on that journey, at the beginning, I guess it's about weight loss and those things. But once that scale starts creeping down, it becomes a game.
Yeah, like beating the GPS.
Yeah, it's like how much can I get? How much more can I get?
Can I go?
Yeah, it's really a game, and that's it kind of becomes a fun thing about it. And so I think anybody can do it. You just have to make a choice. And one of the things my wife told me a long time ago about, I don't even remember what it was about, but it was this, that you will never change until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change.
That is profound.
So you're going to have to get to the point where you're tired of feeling like crap.
Sick and tired of feeling sick and tired.
Yeah.
Yep. That's true.
Pretty much.
That is true. And, I should add, if you have insurance, you likely have an ID card. Even if you don't have it, if your spouse has it, you have an ID card. And on the back, you're going to find a customer service number. Please use that. I've told people that even when I work there, don't sit in silence and let something just happen to you to do with your account.
Yeah.
The insurance companies assign member advocates to you. And it's the number for those member advocates is on the back of your card. Find your card. Get online and copy it if you print it out, if you've lost it. But those people, healthcare providers have advocates that help patients, and you can't hesitate to let them know they are, yes, it's a business. Yes, they are about doing well for themselves. But it's a win-win if they can save themselves $10,000 and you $2,000 out of your deductible and still get you well and still help you feel better. It's all a win-win. Patients have rights. Mm-hmm. You have rights. And if you're unable to get the help you need, then through the proper channels, then you just reach out to the state's insurance commission for support. So,
okay, nice. Well, that's a simple way for people to go to get some help.
Yes.
If they need it, to their
800 number
advocate
on the back of your card.
Okay. Do you have any other places that if somebody is struggling with whatever, maybe certain resources, any website or place for them to go, and maybe that's too broad of a question.
The Insurance Commission does have a website, but that would be my last. Not that they wouldn't help you, but that's sort of like bringing the big guns. It's like shooting a fly with an AR. You can do that if you've lost all your options. Your member advocate is paid to help you at your insurance company,
okay,
and it's in their best interest because if they help you, they help themselves. So it's sort of like having an attorney that only makes anything if you win your case. It's that way with the insurance company. Now, outside of that, I have to say my experience in working with our local provider community, people that, doctor's offices, they truly, 99.9% of those people are called to their profession and they love their patients. And they really care a lot of times more about their patients than their insurance companies. So if you will just go into your doctor and say, I don't understand this, walk me through why this was denied or why this has to be. Tell me, is there an alternative to this test? So, yeah, you use people around you. Don't just sit and suffer and be mad.
Well, I think you nailed it. Ask questions instead of just everything that's told me is gospel.
Right.
Just ask questions. Stand up for yourself,
And not everybody's comfortable doing that.
No.
And if you're not, find somebody in your family that is.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Well, Mayor, I think that about does it. I think I've asked all the questions, went through all the show notes.
You were going to ask me for some recommended guests.
Well, that was the next part, but I was going to ask you if there was anything else that you wanted to say to the residents of Easley before we get to the show wrap.
If the residents of Easley are listening, and I hope they are because you do a really good podcast, I want to say that after 14 months, I still care about every single one of you and what you think. I do want you to call me. Please do not, I say call me, you better email because I'm not ever sitting at my phone, but email me at ltalbert@cityofeasley.com. Come by, let me know what you think. And if you think everything's going great, sometimes that's good for us to hear too. But I want you to know that I care about you, I care about the city, and even after 14 months, I still am more in love with Easley than I ever was. I'm so glad I'm here, and I'm so glad that you've entrusted me for such a time.
Awesome. Well, look, when this goes up, I'm not sure exactly when. I'll have to schedule it, and I'll let you know. But since you're the mayor, I'm sure you can make sure that whoever's running the social media for the city, make sure this is posted. And that will help all the people who follow the City of Easley on social media see that there's a podcast here. Yeah. But yep, I always ask my guests for some recommended for some podcast recommendations. So who do you think I should bring on the show?
Well, I debated about giving names. I don't want anybody to say, I don't like public speaking. No, give them my name. I am always interested to hear from our state representatives. I don't know, other than the one, if you've had any on, but, Senator Rice, our Representative Neil Collins. I just recently have had several opportunities to discuss and engage with our new Congresswoman, Sherry Biggs, who has replaced Jeff Duncan's vacated seat, and was fascinated and very intrigued with her story. And she might be, as a new Congresswoman, she might be very interested in speaking with the people in District 3. And that's politics. But I think I'm always interested to hear from businesses and what they're doing in our city. And I love to hear from people.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look up Sherry Biggs. And like I said, I had Luke Rankin, but he represents Lawrence County. But I met him because my wife is a midwife, and she does exclusive home birth. And
awesome.
Luke and his wife are getting ready to have their first baby next month, and they have hired my wife to deliver. So that's how I made that connection. And there's a couple of other people I might look up. I mean, my podcast is not primarily political, but and
that's probably a good thing.
Sure. I mean, that's not where I'm trying to go with it, but local entrepreneurs, business professionals, entertainers in the upstate. But it's good to sit down with our local powers that be, so to speak, and talk to them about what's going on.
Dr. Swords, director of our Easley chamber.
What's he a doctor of?
That's a good question. I think it's education. I'm not sure.
Okay.
He came to the chamber from SWU. From Southern Wesleyan. So he was there.
He's the head of the chamber?
Director
of the chamber?
Greater Easley Greater Chamber of Commerce. And they're doing some great things. And I know as a business owner yourself, that might be of interest to some of your listeners that might be also small business owners and people that are interested in what the city can do for businesses like yours. He's fascinating. His background is fascinating, and he's very personable.
Awesome.
He's probably going to say, why did you...
Well, it's not, I mean, honestly...
Not everybody likes to speak on a podcast, but...
Well, but I guess that's the beauty of a podcast. It's not public speaking. This is a one-on-one conversation, even though it goes out to the public.
Right.
It's just us sitting down, having a casual chat. I bring some questions, and it's super fun. At least I think it's fun. That's why I do it. I have a good time with it. So, Mayor, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for thinking of having me.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. If you are in need of my services as a realtor or with a cigar box, you can get me directly at 864-207-2316. You can visit mobileCigarBox.com to check me out and fill out the booking inquiry form. Or if you're in need of assistance with real estate, send an email to cstrother@cdanjoyner.com. You've been listening to Sunday Afternoon Smokes. I appreciate it. Share it with your friends and family and on your socials and with the world, because Sunday Afternoon Smokes is super awesome. Yeah, Mayor, thank you again. It's been a pleasure. I enjoyed meeting you, and I will. I'm going to be more informed about my city.
Thank you so much.
All right, we will be back with a fresh episode very soon.